I'm just going through. I made a whole list of some of my favorites.
Oh, please share.
Okay. Where do I start? We talked about Bernard Wright. That was one of my favorites. Moses Sumney.
Who I don't know that much about.
Yeah, I was struck by. I mean, we talked about this. I was listening to it. I wasn't really watching it. I was listening to it in the background, and then I was like, "Is this a Prince song I haven't heard?" And I was like, "Wait a minute!" And I had to like do a double take, and I looked. I'm like, "Wow, it sounds so much like a throwback Prince song." But then once he goes through the song, it's like it's his own thing.
Yeah. Which I appreciate though, because how everyone's imitation is the highest form of flattery. No, it isn't. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
We can take parts of other things and make them our own if you have, the skill and the desire and the wherewithal. And I think that's what he's done, because I hear those influences too. But by no means does it seem like he's trying to do that. That's just who he is.
Exactly.
And even his aesthetic, like he's
fresh.
Yeah.
He's really
I
fresh.
can't wait to see other things that he does. And he's a product of dope algorithms on my. That's all
right?
that is. Yeah.
Thank you, YouTube.
He popped up in my Spotify last year, and then YouTube this year. And I started, digging around, and I was like, yo, thank y'all.
Yeah, it just felt like he came out of nowhere almost, because like the quality of the visuals, the quality of the song. I mean, it's just weird how back in the day there was only certain top tier artists that could achieve, that kind of quality.
Right.
And now it's like it's up to you. It's up to what you want to do and what you can do and your talent.
Right.
And I feel like he was able to achieve something that we see, top of the line artists do back in the day.
Yeah. And you mentioned something also. You mentioned the sound, like retro. I really love this resurgence of retro feeling music that's new. So a lot of the LA bands that I like have that vibe. And you can feel like it feels like they grew up with the same people I grew up with. So I have this kinship, like, oh, you clearly like Eddie Kendricks. I can tell by, the pitch of your falsetto or something. And it's very nice to have all these different artists that you can tell. And for them to acknowledge it. Tyler, the Creator, is always using Charlie Wilson. I grew up with the Gap Band. I think it's awesome that this kid, well, not kid, but that this young person, says the same thing that I say. My mama used to listen to the Gap Band. I love the way this man sounds. So when I do my records, this is who I use too. I mean, it's full circle. Right there. Yeah.
That reminds me of Los Retros.
Yes.
Goes right into that. That is another one of my favorites.
Me too.
I mean, that song that you first shared, I think it was someone to share or to spend time with.
Oh yes, someone to spend time with.
Yeah. It's just so, I don't know, it sounds so pure.
It looks pure too. And then you meet him.
Yeah.
He's a kid and he is pure. And this is beautiful because he couldn't have lived a life where he's heard a lot of that kind of music. It's just in him, I think. And it's so soulful. I don't think he's 21.
No, I think he's only like 18.
Ridiculous. With just all that soul bursting. And
yeah, it sounds like from another era,
It's
it
like, really does.
But I didn't. I mean, when you first shared that first song, you know, I thought it was really dope. But then it was another playlist where you had a video introducing him, and he talks a little bit more about his process, and that was what really caught my ear, because I was like, okay, now I see it. Now I see that you're like one of the many Mexican guys that I grew up with, who was like into metal and punk and played in those bands.
Yes. The metal thing. Really.
Yeah. And you know, and it's like, but you also had like a soft spot for Morrissey and pop music.
Yes. And D'Angelo, I think he mentioned D'Angelo too. I'm like, man, I wish this kid was my little brother. I could put him on so much stuff, but he clearly don't need us because he already got that sound.
Yeah.
All those things collectively together, and it just comes out so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It just felt like when I watched that, I was like, you're exactly like the people I grew up with, and I feel like I'm just listening to
like you're hanging out with
somebody I know. Yeah.
Yep.
But you know, it's because he's so young too. It kind of gives you hope for.
It does, because there's so many people that complain about the state of music and young artists, and I'm usually pretty understanding, but I don't know. I really like a lot of young artists right now, and I think people need to just get out their bag and maybe dig a little bit, because they're doing some amazing stuff, and I'm geeking every single time.
Well, they have all of the past at their disposal, and all of, you know,
and all the new technology
exactly
on top of it.
Yeah.
Win-win. It's a total win-win.
Yeah, and I've come upon like so many young artists that I'm like, wow, like you sound like an old soul.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing those retros with me.
Yeah.